Well, I think the biggest thing is, again, he's got this program nationally relevant. He's got momentum. I know they didn't make the tournament last year, but they've still got a lot of buzz around him. And one thing that Tang can do, and I've known him for 20-plus years, he can recruit.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome into another edition of 3 Ma. I am John Kurtz, joined by Cole Manbeck, and today we've got a very special guest. Really pumped for this. From the field of 68, Jeff Goodman, one of the most prominent voices in college basketball, is on with us here. They've got a new pod coming up with K-State's very own Coleman Hawkins that we want to talk about and just get a gauge of where K-State's at after a very eventful offseason heading into this Big 12 season. Of course, that calls for a toast from our friends at Holiday Distillery. Get your Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon or your 360 vodka for tailgate season. And hey, basketball season not too far away as well. So, Jeff, we really appreciate you making some time for us. I mentioned you guys have the pod coming up with Coleman Hawkins. Every Pod a Wildcat, in fact, is the name of the podcast with Coleman. So give us a little background there. How did that come together with one of college basketball's most interesting personalities?
Well, that's part of the reason. That's honestly the main reason. You know, to me, in order to pull this thing off with a player, it's got to be somebody kind of special in that regard. And I've just gotten to know Coleman really well over the last year or so, and I just think he's one of the few guys that could do it and do it the right way. And I think, you know, it can help him as well, right? I mean, you know, Hunter Dickinson did one a couple years ago with Barstool, and it was a complete train wreck because they didn't protect him. And I'm not saying we're going to protect Coleman from everything, but I think we can help him a little bit. But he's so good at this. He's so smart. Well-spoken. He could talk about so many different topics. He's candid. You know, there's no bullshit with Coleman Hawkins, which is part of the beauty of him. And he's been through it. You know, he's been through kind of the ups and downs of college basketball, and one of the more, you know, highly paid players, well compensated right now through the NIL, deal right now. So I think he was the perfect guy, and I started there, and then Kansas State was the perfect program, you know, because you had a program that wants some attention, Duke doesn't need to do this, right? Kansas probably doesn't need to do this. Carolina, there's a handful of programs. The Blue Bloods don't really need this. I think this helps Kansas State. And Tang is perfect for it as well because, you know, he's got that big personality. He likes this. He likes Coleman Hawkins to get out there and do this. And, you know, the key is obviously managing it. You know, if you're Coleman Hawkins, he's not going to do every one, guys. He'll do the majority of them. But, you know, obviously it can be a lot. And, you know, you could see Tang coming in and you know, co-hosting or hosting here and there. You know who could do it? Who we recorded a podcast with Coleman and David Castillo. Holy crap, is that kid impressive. As a freshman, wow, like blew me away how impressive and mature he is.
Yeah, we've heard nothing but glowing things about David Castillo so far. I guess that is, in essence, a tease there, but we were going to ask you, too, if there's anything you want to tease from the first episode coming out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we recorded three of them while we're out there that'll all air in the next month or so. And, you know, first one was Coleman and Tang. And I liked it because the thing that blew me away about Coleman was, and I didn't know how he'd be at this. Obviously, he's answered questions for years, but could he flip it around and be a good interviewer? And he was fantastic. I mean, he really was. Like, he listened to what Tang was saying and Castillo, and I did one with Coleman as well, and that one was probably a little more half and half. You know, I asked Coleman some questions. He asked me a couple. And one of the questions, frankly, I asked him was, you know, how are you going to deal with this pressure of people knowing you're making a ton of money, maybe the highest paid player in college basketball? He wouldn't confirm that. I'm not sure he knows. You know, it might be him or Great Osibor at Washington. We don't know who it is. But he's making a lot of money. We know that. So I asked him about that, which I thought his answer was very insightful. He's just, again, the great thing about him is, like, when you get him away from the court, I even said that to him in our interview. I said, like, sometimes you can be a knucklehead and you can drive me crazy. Like some of his body language, at the wrong time, picking up technicals, talking trash. I think he's got to be a little smarter about that. But, I think that also kind of gives people the wrong idea of who Coleman Hawkins is off the court. He's emotional on the court. He talks about that. He admits that. But off the court, man, there's two players that I would have chosen. And they both reside in the same state. It's Hunter Dickinson, and I would have liked to have given him another opportunity. He passed last year because I think I would have been much better for him, helping him out, than Barstool was, trying to get him to say crazy shit all the time, and Coleman. Those are the two best personalities to me in college basketball that, again, are veterans that are comfortable in their own skin, that can talk about the trials and tribulations of everything they've gone through. They could talk about how when they came into college basketball, there was no NIL, and how it's obviously changed from that standpoint, from realignment, from the portal, all of that.
Man, I'm just imagining, Jeff, a show with Coleman and Hunter together and how interesting.
We're going to try to get that before the Kansas, the Kansas State KU game. Like, that would be a hell of a podcast, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely would. And look, we're going to make this our top storyline of the week, brought to you by our friends over at Elanco, premier home improvement company based out of Kansas City. But obviously, you spent a couple days in Manhattan with Coach Tang and the staff. You know these guys well. What do you make of the roster that Jerome Tang and his coaching staff's assembled for the 2024-25 season, Jeff?
They have talent. We know that. I think Doug McDaniel has been their best player so far and was the best player the day I was there for practice. Coleman's still trying to shake off some of the rust, from kind of dealing with the knee injury and, taking it slow over the course of the offseason. I love their backcourt. I love Doug McDaniel. I think Brendan Housen's going to be awesome this year. I mean, he didn't miss. The day we saw him, he didn't miss a shot. And I was sitting there with Darren Peterson and his father, and his father looked at me and he's like, "Does this dude ever miss?" And I'm like, "Well, now you know why Jay Wright recruited him. Like, this kid is a big time shooter with, again, couple years of a bad taste in his mouth. I think that backcourt's going to be terrific. I don't know how the pieces are going to fit in the front court. I almost feel like, again, you kind of see how this can go, but I don't know if Coleman's really a three. Akora played well and I saw him in the SoCon title game last year for Sanford. He's talented, plays hard. Onyensu gives him that rim protector, shot blocker. Can't really score in the post too much, inconsistent, but, he could be the odd man out at the end of the day, potentially. But the guy that probably impressed me the most that I just didn't know anything about was Max Jones. I didn't know anything about him, very little, 2 years at Tampa, 2 years, I think, at Cal State Fullerton. And, they kind of had told me when I talked to their staff in the summer, they were like, all right, he came in a little overweight, didn't look good. We didn't know, did we make a mistake here? And he was awesome, like makes shots, plays hard. Just one of those guys that I think it's going to be hard to take him out of the lineup because he's going to be a culture guy, I think, that you can just kind of plug in. So they're going to have some versatility, Tang is, and that's the benefit. But what's their best lineup going to look like? I'm not sure it's going to be with Coleman Hawkins at the three and a core and then Onyensu. I don't know. I don't feel lineups that big unless Coleman, gets to the elite level defensively, because it's hard. It'll be hard for him to guard threes.
Well, the Max Jones buzz continues to grow. Jeff, we spent some time with the coaching staff a couple weeks ago at an NIL event, actually, and out of nowhere, they brought up Max Jones because we hadn't asked about him, and the light bulb is really starting to come on there, and we continue to hear glowing things. So I guess it brings me to my next question. I mean, how do you kind of handicap the Big 12 in 2024-25? I know, loaded league. Yeah, at Arizona now. But where do you maybe see this K-State team stacking up in comparison to the rest of the league?
I mean, it really is insane. If you think about it, you're like, I mean, you might have like 5 of the top 8 or 9 teams coming from the league right now. I mean, it's that loaded. Obviously, Kansas is 1A or 1B, in my opinion, with Alabama. Iowa State's right there. Houston's right there. Baylor's in the top 10. Arizona's probably in the top 10 or 15 with Caleb Love coming back. I think Kansas State, preseason, probably you could put them anywhere from 6 to 10, and I wouldn't argue. I think they're probably closer to 6, and I have them like right around in that 20 to 25 range nationally. But again, so much is going to depend on how the pieces fit and how these guys kind of mesh and how quickly they're able to do it. Because, again, Iowa State brings back, almost everything, right? Kansas, they're bringing in a lot of new pieces, but they bring back 3 guys who have played a lot of college basketball, and they've all played a year together, and they added shooters and scorers. Houston's Houston. They bring in a new point guard, but everything else is pretty much the same as well. So, Baylor, their top 3 guys are loaded with Norchad Amier and VJ Edgecombe, probably maybe the second best freshman in the country after Cooper Flagg, and Jeremy Roach. We'll see if he can play the point. The league is just so ridiculously loaded that they could finish 8th. And Rob Dosser said this to me. They could finish like 8th and they could be a top, 5 seed, in the NCAA tournament. That's how good this league's going to be.
Well, when you get to Bramlage Coliseum to watch Coleman Hawkins and the Wildcats, you better be wearing your home field apparel, and you can get it all at homefieldapparel.com. 50-plus K-State designs, old school stuff. They've got that shooting shirt. Remember how much I love that shooting shirt? You can get that. It's pretty heavy duty. Make sure I'm wearing an undershirt with it, but it's awesome. And take it out to Bramlage for a spin this year. You can even get 15% off your first order using promo code 3MAW24. That is promo code 3MAW24 for 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. And if you dare to be like DY, you can even venture out to get 100 plus other teams that are there as well. Homefieldapparel.com. We are back in just a moment.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com. Whenever I discover something new, like a TV show or a book or a movie, the first thing I want to do is share it with my friends. And that's exactly what it felt like when I discovered that with Mint Mobile, you can get premium wireless service for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It was such a good deal, there was no way I could just keep it to myself. So friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. You can say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And if you're worried about bringing your own phone and your contacts, you can do all of that when you switch to Mint Mobile. So ditch overpriced wireless, Mint Mobile's deal, and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/3maw. That's mintmobile.com/3maw. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/3maw. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Yeah, it is crazy and somewhat daunting, and a lot of great coaching there too. I mean, Jerome Tang, his first year, he's Naismith Coach of the Year, goes to the Elite Eight. Last year, NIT, but we know a lot of the circumstances there, obviously, with Naquan Tomlin. Even Quez Glover, who I saw some positive buzz on the other day too. Like, how do you reconcile like Jerome Tang at this point in his career and what he is as a coach, considering everything that happened during his first 2 years?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, again, he's got this program nationally relevant. He's got momentum. I know they didn't make the tournament last year, but they've still got a lot of buzz around him. And one thing that Tang can do, and I've known him for 20-plus years, he can recruit. He and Scott Drew were – it's funny. I mean, I tell this story all the time, but, when Baylor was really bad, I was covering recruiting when they started, when they got the job. And when Baylor would beat anybody for a player – those teams that were generally, they were always better, in terms of have more juice to them. They would always turn around and say, well, they cheated. So Baylor got this rap of like being cheaters because they were out working people and coaches and schools couldn't deal with it. And that was Tang. Tang was a huge part of that. And, he's got a very different personality than Scott Drew, but similar in some ways. They're super outgoing. They'll do anything. They're both dorky. I mean, they are. I don't know if Tang wants to hear that from me, but Scott Drew, he leans into it. I'm not sure Tang's going to like me calling him dorky, but I think he is to some degree. And again, they'll go out and do anything, and they'll outwork people. And part of the deal right now is what? Raising money, right? Getting out there and connecting. He's done it in 2 years, guys. Like, that's hard to do at a place like K-State, right? Where basketball is, football's still king. And he's found a way to raise money. I don't know if I would guess, actually, I would bet the house that I just sold in Boston. I would bet my house on the fact that they're top 5 in NIL this year. And they might even be top 3. And that says a lot about Jerome Tang. In a short period of time, being able to connect with the people that matter. I just, again, the guy is elite level at connecting with people. And, we went to a cattle auction while I was there, which was kind of cool for me. I mean, I'm from Boston. So it was the coolest thing ever for me to see it. And again, how many coaches are going to go to a cattle auction? And he felt right at place. Like he didn't feel out of place at all. Like you would have never known that, he and Dream Dowling and the rest of their staff, Uric, probably had never been to one before last year.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad to have, the confirmation from you on the NIL thing, because I think it's one thing for us to say it, but you see like the whole landscape of this and what's going on out there. And on that front, I mean, they're fishing in some pretty deep waters when it comes to the next high school class, right? The 2025 class. Where do you think K-State sits, with a lot of these top prospects that they're after right now? They've been able to bring some in on visits. How realistic is it that Jerome Tang's able to land one or two of those guys?
Really the only two I probably feel comfortable talking about that I know. I don't cover recruiting like I used to. But AJ DeBonsa, who actually grew up a half an hour from me in Brockton, Massachusetts, and Darren Peterson, they're both freaking phenomenal. They're very different, but they're both elite. I think obviously money's going to play a big factor in both, but I'm not sure it plays the ultimate factor in both. I think with Peterson, it's all right. Does he go to Kansas where everybody thinks he's been a lean for a while? Then be the next guy there, a piece. I shouldn't say a piece because he's going to be a star wherever he goes. But at Kansas, I'm not sure they build it all around him. Where some of the other places, Kansas State, Ohio State, it's going to be his show, right? I would think Kansas is still the front runner in my opinion. But again, who knows with NIL? It's funny. My daughter's covering women's college basketball right now and doing recruiting. And she'll call me all the time because she just started kind of getting into it and trying to figure it out. And she's like, this kid's going to go here. Like I know she's going to commit here. And I tell her, I said, just be careful. Because at the 11th hour, these things can really change these days more than ever. Not when I was doing it, I had a pretty good feel. Like you might have a kid flip once in a blue moon for basketball. I know it happened all the time in football. But now I think with the money, I just think it can be a bidding war at the 11th hour and kids can change their mind. AJ DeBonsa, a lot of people think BYU's the favorite there. Let's see. I would say this. He's going to prep school in Utah all year. Let's see if that thing changes a little bit. They probably will have as much money as just about anybody. But we also have to see, guys, what if the revenue sharing, I don't think it's going to go into effect for next year, but nobody really knows and how that's going to alter everything as well. Like some coaches are making promises to these kids right now and not knowing whether they're going to be able to keep those promises. But again, I think, K-State will be there for AJ. I think Alabama will be there for AJ. BYU, again, like I said, is probably considered the front runner today, whatever that means. probably means nothing at this point. But just the fact that they're in there for arguably the two best players in the country that are open, because the boozers are going to either Miami or Duke. Like that's been the case for a while now. So, they're in the mix, heavily in the mix for the two best players. If that doesn't say they have NIL, big-time NIL, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, you just spent a couple days in Manhattan with Rob, and you and Rob were in Manhattan for the Kansas game a couple years ago. That was a thriller as well, electric atmosphere. Like, what are your impressions of Manhattan and some of the unique things it offers? It's a college town, obviously. I'm curious for your perspective on it.
Yeah, we went out. We went out a little bit, too. It's a great college town. I mean, a great college town. The only hard part for me is getting there. It's not the easiest place to get to, right? Like, especially for me, if I still lived in Boston, I'm in Charleston right now. So Charleston, it's connect, then get to Kansas City, then drive 2 hours. So it's a little bit tough to get to. But once you're there, it's awesome. It really is. I mean, one of the better college towns in the country. I wish I'd gone out of, I was going to go out earlier for the Arizona. I went to Arizona, so I was going to go out for that Arizona football game, and probably shouldn't. Glad I didn't, because my alma mater got whipped pretty good in that one. But yeah, I mean, like, to me, it's just a cool college town, and again, like, the environment. The times I've been there has been awesome. From when Frank Martin was there, and that's one of the other things we're going to try to do, guys. For this pod that Coleman's doing, we're going to try to get some, blasts from the past. Maybe, hopefully we hook up Coleman with Frank Martin. Maybe I jump on it too, because I've known Frank forever and I can get him going a little bit here. And we, maybe we can get a Michael Beasley on. I mean, that would be awesome, because I know he hasn't done a whole heck of a lot since he left there, but people forget how good he was. So, yeah, get back to your original question. Atmosphere, that Kansas State game 2 years ago, I'll put it up against any game I've been to in the last at least 5 years that didn't involve Chris Beard going back to Lubbock.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. That game was nuts.
You mean because there weren't, fans like waiting around the bus, like ready to throw stuff and jump on it and whatever was going on?
No, they were ready to tip it over. I mean, that was number one. Number two, last year was not quite as close, but Ed Cooley going back to Providence was also a really good one. But the fans in Lubbock are actually there's just more students than there are Providence. Providence fans are crazy, and they're drunk as hell. Texas Tech fans are drunk as hell, and there's a whole lot more.
Yeah. They can definitely get the rage going, which they did. Jeff, really appreciate it. We're excited to see every pod of Wildcat coming up here really soon. But thanks for making some time for us. I know you got a busy week, so enjoy the media day tour de force that you guys are going on here.
Yeah, we got Frank Martin tomorrow. I don't know when you're putting this out. Probably after we already interviewed Frank Martin at 8:10. But I'm trying to get some good dirt from his wife on what Frank Martin does not do well at home. The chores that Frank doesn't do, which is probably everything. My guess is Frank doesn't do anything around the house. So I'm trying to get that if I can today.
Yeah. We covered Frank, obviously. Jeff, we just actually had him on, and you obviously know he's a tremendous storyteller, and he's awesome. And we were planning just like 30 minutes with him, and we ended up doing 2 hours. We had to divide it up into two parts, and we had Brad Underwood on a couple weeks after that. And so obviously, those guys are awesome personalities, and that. Frank tremendously well, so that would be a huge hit. K-State fans love hearing from Frank. So.
You've been lucky in a way. You've had three totally different personalities as the last three coaches. Yeah. But I'll say this, they're all like really good people. Like Bruce Weber probably got a bad rap to some degree because he doesn't have the personality of Frank or Tang, but like that dude, you're not going to find a better human being than Bruce Weber in this business.
Yeah. Well said. Hey, Jeff, we appreciate it. Take care. Safe travels throughout the week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
We'll see you this season. We'll definitely be out there this year. So we'll get together, and you guys can take us to a good spot in Manhattan when we get out there, and it's on us.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.